tuned in to I Am Not a Number Live, the review show with Cardinal Sin and Captain Cockney Spock, where we review a different episode of The Prisoner starring Patrick McGoohan. Each week, we discuss a different episode and its implications then and now. Follow along and make sure to catch the episode in our viewing order so you can be ready to ask questions and participate in the chat. New episodes premiere each week on Wednesdays from 3 to 5 Central. The show's surreal and political implications on the reduction of the individual to a number have an even more insidious impact today, as all of our information, phone calls, texts, likes, photos, and other data are harvested to be sold and turn us into product rather than consumers. Get ready for a deep dive into one of the most important shows to have an impact on pop culture and society ever. And remember, I am not a number.
Greetings followers. It is I, Cardinal Sin, and welcome to another episode of I Am Not a Number. Today's episode, number 8 of our show, Many Happy Returns. And don't forget, you can get all your I Am Not a Number merch at gillstore.com. Pretty easy. And it's much like this. Really nice print, really nice premium tee, and at prices you can't miss. You can't go wrong. So let's check out some of what's been going in the chat. Herc130 is here and says, I'm here and properly briefed on Many Happy Returns. What a mind bender. Anti-Derivative Jill said, I loved this one. Oh, I wish I could be here live when the show begins, but this time just doesn't work out for me. Ironic, I always have to only lurk. My favorite show on this channel. Oh, well, thanks, Jill. She continues, Twilight Zone vibes. Where is everybody? Except number 6 asks this with a bell. Okay, time to nope TF out of here. And hails all around. Jill says, I love the callback to the woodworking regarding his adeptness at building a raft. Yep, that was good. Herc130 mentions the compass from a needle and a radio speaker magnet, which I thought was pretty cool. Patrick acting is out of this world. Though very simple things are happening, he manages to show a wide variety of emotions while on his adventure. That's true. Exciting episode. I wonder what would have happened if he just hightailed it to a commercial flight to Hawaii. Well, if he could, he probably would have. Do you think they'd probably let him have it for a while just because it was his birthday? Shh, we're not there yet. They taught me that in an aircrew in survival school. The compass from a needle and a radio speaker magnet, which is very cool. Michael Beacom is here. Hi, guys. At my daughter's house babysitting today, so while I'll be listening, not much chance to chat. Herc130 says, I like how he started a fire and put it out for the smoke. Not burn down the boat he needs. Good point. Hail, Carol's Cookies. Hail, Darius Munchausen. Hail, Edge of Time. Beacon, Darius, Edge of Time, Herc130, Darius, Carol's Cookies. How is everyone today? I'm feeling very alone. Otherwise, doing great. Yep. Okay. And hail. So that's what we have in the chat. And good stuff all around. Glad everybody could make it here in the chat. I am going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of the merch store where you can geek out to your heart's content. So here, of course, we have our I'm Not a Number mug. This is the just the standard black one. I am not a number. And it, of course, auto-suggests the women's comfort tee, always a good choice. The premium tee. And, of course, on the back, the URL, which is nice. And we can find the rare, nearly out of print, white version of the mug. I am not a number, with a great design by Fet for Hire, which is awesome and priced, so I make little to no profit. It's a thank you for basically being a walking billboard for my YouTube channel. And we've got all kinds of other good stuff. Which we usually find. Here we go. Even though Halloween is over, you can still get yourself some damn fine Halloween merchandise. The Arcane Haunted House Company. We've been scaring kids and adults alike since 1983. And we have a red Ned shirt. That's Ned right there. And we have a women's red shirt for you here. And all kinds of awesome products. Pint glasses, tumblers, coffee cups. I mean, you name it, we have it for you, and priced to move. Oh, went one too far there. There we go. Got a great Masters of the Genre shirt. Again, with a great design by Fet for Hire. Thank you, Fet for Hire. Here we have some really outstanding I Am Not a Number shirts. Again, low to no profit, so that you can advertise for the channel on the other side. A fantastic design by Douglas Nelson for Masters of the Genre. And plenty of other shirts as well. And because winter's coming up, we've got a long sleeve one here. Let's face it, winter's here. It's not coming up. It's done arrived. It's done arrived, y'all. And all kinds of groovy stuff. And of course, our Into the Fringe collection. This is the one that I'm wearing today. Into the Fringe with Cardinal Sin. And the URL on the back. Again, as cheap as I could make it without losing money. Don't want to do that. And of course, we have the incredible white t-shirt for those of you that can get away with wearing white. Into the Fringe with Cardinal Sin. That's not necessarily me in the beam, but you get the gist. So we have that good stuff. We have some midnight to midnight stuff for you late night owls. Showed one of those the other day. We even have one on black for you goth kids. So whatever show tickles your fancy here on youtube.com/cardinalsin. Oh, this one I really like. The midnight to midnight black mug. Man, that's cool. And again, we have your pint glasses. Your tumblers. Whatever you like. gillsstore.com. So please do stop by and check it out, won't you? Become a supporting member of the channel, since we really can't do it any other way, except, of course, if you would like to, you can type in !tip, or you can go to paypal.me/Gilbavel. If you enjoy the content on this channel, you can send me $1 or $2 there. You can buy me a coffee or a pizza or whatever. LDG says, thinking of a merch idea for a mug that says, "This coffee is fair use." I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see what else we have. We have lots of hailing going on. Lots of folks are here. Possums ate my lawn darts. Carol's Cookies is going to make a lasagna out of that possum. Smash that like button. Yes, thank you. Baby, still napping so I can stylus. No co-hosts. Well, appropriate for the prisoner. Alone is still one of the themes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Michael Beekman is a prisoner of a baby. Flurries here today. Carol, where are their flurries? Only allowed on Fridays and alternate Tuesdays. Triple fizz bin. Canadian Spider-Man says, I have 2 red shirts in the mail on the way. Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, Carol's Cookie says, I'll make sure and let the flurries know that the next time they show up. Daddy S. Munchausen from the chat says, midnight to midnight, the show that you'll never see coming until it happens. Hit the notification bell for notifications. And lots of more hails, hellos. Thanks for being here. Cardinal Sin, good to see you again. Bud, Red Dwarf is great. Craig Charles is pretty damn funny. You know what's interesting? Since you mentioned Red Dwarf, Canadian Spider-Man, that one thing that's funny about Red Dwarf is that there are some distinct similarities in between the prisoner and Red Dwarf, which we will get to. Somehow, I want to pronounce this n'est-ce pas, but you know, take what you can get. And Let's see what all we have. Am I missing anybody? Hello, 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 hail, hail. Okay, gang's all here. Well, let's get to the analysis of the episode, shall we? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. I've just been left alone. Okay, well, I can do that standing on my head. So, it might make for a shorter episode. But, I am not a number. Number 8 is our coverage of, or my coverage, I guess, of Many Happy Returns. So, there's no dialogue for the first 15 minutes, and then it's in Romani. Then he finds out he's in England, goes to London by jumping in the back of a truck. And I think if there were any doubt that his side was running the village, or at least co-running, by now there really can't be any doubt. By the end of this episode, you kind of figure out that, yes, this is at least run by his side, if not by both sides or all sides. How many sides are there after all? This episode was written by Patrick McGoohan. He's credited as Joseph Surf. He writes several episodes in this series, and he's credited as Patty Fitz and Joseph Surf, and I don't remember the other one. But he wrote some episodes. He directed some episodes. He wrote and directed some episodes. So the plot of Many Happy Returns is that Six wakes up to find that the ever-busy and controlled village has been deserted. Completely so. As a result, he takes his chance and legs it. One long trip across the ocean, well, he takes a taxi first, and a failed attempt to rob a boat being driven by gunrunners later, he's back in Great Britain. He tries to catch up with life at his old townhouse before running to update the government on his exploits in the village, and all on the day before his birthday. Just when you thought the prisoner couldn't get any more bizarre. And I really don't think I have to repeat myself on just how strange this whole series is. You know the drill at this point. Credit to Patrick McGoohan. He sold me on this weird serial with quite a bit of political allegory and character interactions. The show has ranged from amusing to dramatic to downright terrifying in some spots. Invariably, it's been captivating, brilliant, and maybe moving in the case of one or two scenes. And now in this episode, we're taking a look at how the series decides to ratchet up the gambles even further by starting the episode with most of the cast gone. I'm sorry, I thought this wasn't Red Dwarf. Yeah, the first act of this episode revolves entirely around McGoohan, and it transpires that Six is on his own in the village. The radio is silent, the phones are disconnected or at least not being answered. The loudspeaker of doom is not broadcasting. Cafes are empty with the tables toppled over. The bell tolls for no one. Doors are either locked or left ajar, as is the case in the office of number 2. And the lights are out. Number 2 is nowhere to be seen. So one can draw two conclusions. One, they're all dead. Everybody's dead. Everybody is dead, Dave. Or 2, the village is screwing with Six again, which is more likely. That said, this whole scene is an absolutely captivating tour de force. For minutes upon minutes on end, there's barely any added sound. Not a word of dialogue is uttered. It's minutes before substantial background music comes in, and what there is gives off an eerie vibe. All the while, Patrick McGoohan is forced to carry the scene with his acting. Given that he's done so in at least an able fashion in prior episodes, this time he carries out this whole scene with aplomb, slowly transferring from bemusement to somewhat troubled, and ultimately resourceful and determined. It sort of mirrors his initial reaction to appearing in the village, except this time he can see the exit door to his hell. Whatever the case, what followed, Six stuck at sea, is one of the more moving scenes in the show. In any other piece of fiction, the whole scenario would be framed as a realm of total imprisonment, utter hopelessness, and instead it's presented as a scene of liberation, albeit with a slightly tragic veneer. Yes, he spends at least 18 days alone at sea, no human contact, only old newspaper to serve as something of a diary. But compared to the village, the autocratic village where everybody's life is practically planned from moment one, the material that is read and practically censored, and his defectors are tortured, Six might be a damned man, but at least it appears that he was able to escape on his own terms. It's peaceful, yet full of trepidation at the same time, and the lack of dialogue merely ups the ante. And to this end, the first words in the episode are uttered 15 minutes in as his raft is raided by arms traffickers. He climbs aboard and sets a fire in the galley. Thus, the first line is one of the traffickers sounding the alarm after smelling smoke in German, and not terribly well delivered German. His valiant attempts to take over the boat fail, and he winds up thrown off, again saying very little himself. It's actually a very impressive scene, and it serves as the grand climax of the silence. What would have been climactic in most other shows is merely the beginning, and it's framed so well that it left me wanting more. But that is more or less the end of the first act. So, having washed ashore, and at the White Cliffs of Dover no less, Six encounters a small group of travelers. Rather interestingly, they are actually framed as being rather friendly people who, once they realize the situation being faced by Six, help him quite a bit. So, promptly, we wind up in England, known instantly giving the appearance of a police officer. This does partially narrow down the location of the village to almost definitely European. After all, he all but washed ashore on British soil, and floating listlessly at sea for so long, he can't have moved that quickly. He's a trained spy, not a miracle worker. And later in the episode, it's indicated that the village is located off the coast of Morocco, southwest of Portugal and Spain, a leftover secret colony, one can suspect, if the village isn't independent. Or is it? Anyway, he arrives back at his London flat, where he realizes that his old life, the one before he was sent to the village, has seemingly been usurped by a Mrs. Butterworth. In this regard, the episode establishes its place in an ideal episode order after The Schizoid Man, one that focused on Six being replaced by an identical outlet. Here, not only has he been replaced, but from a person the complete opposite of him, and apparently more emotionally open and less perturbed, overall more pleasant woman. We also learn that the conditions that Six was living in, despite seeming exquisite, were actually less so than they appeared. The faucets were breaking, the wood was rotting in some areas, and even the doors weren't functioning properly. Thus, we get a more selfish possibility as to why Six would grow disillusioned. And the ideas come in that either he couldn't afford genuine comfort, or that the allure of comfort masked a darker reality, the latter of which strangely corresponds to the whole idea of the village, actually. Either way, he gets his chance to out the whole operation to the civil service again. Now, whether or not he's doing this as a form of exposure or revenge, it really does straddle the line. After all, it could be both. But here, we get something more imperative. The apparent views of the MI5 higher-ups to Six. They praised his skepticism and were apparently stunned to see him go. However, and assuming they're not just trying to flatter him, this does beg the question as to how we see Six. As while we might be inclined to support his individualistic attitudes and rebellion against the callous collectivist society of the village, the fact of the matter is that he is still a rather cold, aloof man who is only slowly warming up. Combined with the aforementioned idea that he might have a selfish streak, it does really put into account some of the drawbacks of his philosophy and character. That's not to say that the village itself isn't a haunting place, but occasionally you have to wonder if their ideas of building a stronger community aren't bad, just executed in one of the most disturbing ways possible. After all, according to Six, it's for people who know too much or too little, people that society refuses to keep around. An interesting accusation to keep society under the government's thumb. They punish the impressionable and the intellectual by sending them to the happiest prison possible, thereby only allowing those that are both too soft to catch on to elements of corruption and too sharp to not be used as pawns of rebels who might be fueled by their own biases. And speaking of biases, Six mentions that he is unaware as to what side runs the village. The natural instinct is to think of it in the realm of the Iron Curtain, the collectivist Soviet Union versus the capitalist United States and United Kingdom. Of course, one could also argue other binary divides even within British society. So it was all a scheme set up by the village. Damn, what an impressive outing this time around. This time, they drop him out pretending they're tracking down the village, and he gets to meet Mrs. Butterworth, aka number 2. Now, I will admit that with this, we probably get the weakest number 2 insofar in Georgina Cookson. Don't get me wrong, she plays the role of landlady turned operative quite well. It's just not quite as captivating as the performances of the other number 2s. Earlier ones have done a better job at selling me on an affable antagonist. I guess I just like the power struggle between 6 and 2 quite a bit more, and maybe she could have shown her acting skills off with a better script. Of course, it could be argued that the true antagonists in this episode are the Colonel and Thorpe, the higher-ups that Six reports the information to, having already reported it to his boss earlier, the last time he escaped. If they themselves were complicit in the manipulation and not mere spectators, then we just sent ourselves beyond a mere village, but the UK government as the architect of one man's torture. That was a possibility beforehand, and now it's a serious candidate for the final answer. Either way, I can appreciate where they were going with this episode. It's Six going against the apparent government, the world really, trying to get information out of them because he has this chance, or at least appears to. So kudos to the ubiquity of this episode. That said, it does make the village's plan come off as quite lucky, as well as most of Six's maneuvers. Between him coming across on the boat, not drowning in the ocean, and going straight to London, hey, I guess Six and the village know more about each other than we once feared. Still, a bit of a stretch, but not far enough to ruin the episode for me. And here, of course, we will take a quick break. I wanted to make sure that no one had showed up, and to remind you that number 6 really most of the time is thinking,
I will not make any deals with you. I've resigned. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
Is it?
Yes, you won't hold me.
Even though he says this in episode 1, he's thinking it all the time. You can see the gear wheels, the cogs in his head. He's constantly trying to figure out what's really going on. Hey, V-Star333. Good to see you again. Canadian Spider-Man says, everybody's dead, Dave. Dave, everybody's dead. Everybody's dead, Dave. Which, one of the funniest parts of the end, which is the first episode of Red Dwarf. Carol's Cookie says, I keep gluing myself and to my desk. I need adult supervision. Be careful what you wish for, right? And hail, low-spec Linux laptop. It's good to see you. So, many happy returns is an overused saying to wish somebody a happy birthday. Indeed, much of this episode is set the day before and of Six's birthday. Well, what a gift he got. But why his birthday? Well, we often tie age with growth and maturity, all while looking back on the past, and in the weird serialization of The Prisoner, where we're not really sure what the proper viewing episode or viewing order is, it's clear that Six is being fleshed out as a character, even in subtle ways. This episode focuses a bit on Six's past, all while demonstrating his survivalist skills more closely, as Herc 130 observed, as well as showcase some of his emotional impacts of his imprisonment in paradise. Also, many happy returns is said by two as soon as he arrives back at his cottage at Disney's Hellscape Resort. Anyway, many happy returns is definitely not a bad episode. It is admittedly slightly weaker than some of the others, but it has good plotting, kind of a lack of an interesting number 2, but for what it's worth, given some of the character development and the stylistic choices in the scripting, it's still a good episode of what has been a fantastic series thus far. So now we get to questions and thoughts. First question. Where did all the villagers go? It's not like he scoped out the entire island, but is there some sort of underground location where, you know, they pull up the hatch and everybody goes into the bomb shelter and they pull it down and somebody takes the helicopter and before doing so, you know, covers up the hatch with brush? As a matter of fact, we never saw the helicopter in this episode, so that's a possibility. What was the point of letting number 6 escape if they were just going to take him back again? More mental torture? Is it just to prove the inevitability of the fact that he will return unless and until he gives them information? It's an effective episode in demonstrating that they can and will go to any lengths to get what they want. Another clue, I think, that the character is John Drake is that only an operative would go this long without caving. Or, if he told them the real reason he resigned, would they continue to go at him incessantly? So I have some thoughts here. This episode also hints at a proper name for Six, as he gives his name as Peter Smith. However, two things we have to take into account. The pause at the beginning of the line. He was either coming up with the easiest names possible to remember, or he was contemplating whether or not he should expose his proper identity. Looks like we'll have to wait and see. And, as I believe Rick Davy mentioned earlier, of the Unmutual website, which comes this little nifty card in his book, which is around here somewhere. I put it somewhere safe, and we all know what happens when you do that. The opening credits of this episode actually features the voice of a male number 2, Robert Rietti, in lieu of Georgiana Cookson. I do like how they kept the real number 2's identity as a surprise until the end. That was kind of cool. Before ejecting Six, the pilot of the aircraft says the phrase, "Be seeing you." Remember that phrase? This does lend credence to the whole thing being plotted by Her Majesty's government. But we have several episodes left, so we'll find out. In production order, this episode was the last one worked on by George Markstein, who is the guy we see in this episode and also in the first episode as the person to whom McGowan resigns, pounding the desk and upsetting the tea. And he left the show after clashing with McGowan. Go figure, right? I know, very unlikely. Markstein liked the espionage elements, whereas McGowan apparently loved the surrealism. So the rest of the episodes that we have yet to go should be pretty interesting viewing, I should say. And that's the end of what I had prepared to talk about. Although I expected 3 other guys to be here talking with me about it. So feel free to knock yourselves out. Tell me what you thought of this episode. And we will have a tete-a-tete, as it were. Herc130 says number 6 said his name was Peter Smith to Mrs. Butterworth. Made up the name on the spot? I think so. Hail Edge of Time. When diverting expectations work to keep viewers off balance. I know, right? Canadian Spider-Man, as always, greeting the good people here. And Edge of Time. When I think about you, I glue myself to myself. Get it? Barely. I'm too old, but I got it. Canadian Spider-Man. I'm about to do that, Carol's Cookies. A Star Trek bridge model to assemble. Oh, I see. So we've finished the last one, have we? Herc130 says, as always, mucho respect to you, Cardinal Canadian Spider-Man. Great to see you here today. Carol's Cookies. I'm working on the final piece that will be sent off in a Carol's Cookies care package. Well, if you ever decide to send me such a care package, remember that I'm a vegan. There's always Smart Earth. It's not Smart Butter. Smart something. I've got some in the fridge. I can't believe I'm spacing the language. But a couple of Thanksgivings ago, or maybe a couple of birthdays ago, my niece, who at that point had yet to go off to college, she's in her senior year now, so I guess it would have been slightly over 4 years ago, asked me what I wanted for my birthday cake. And I sort of jokingly said, chocolate cheesecake, if you can make it. And she did. She ground up cashews, and I have no idea what else. But not only was it good, it was the most delicious chocolate cheesecake I've ever had. And I've had some chocolate cheesecake in my time. Really enjoyed it. Yes, Cam. Flying solo, indeed. Although not in space. But hey, how about that William Shatner, huh? Hello. And Cam, if you would be so kind as to send me your address, you can do so to my email, gil@sunflower.com, or if you are a Twitter type, as am I, you can send it to @GilBavel. I have a book for you, which I will pay for the shipping, etc., etc. Now, what did I do with it? One moment, please. Let's see if we can get away with playing something fun. That was kind of fun, right? Where did he go? Cardinal Sin Show, and he's all gone. Howdy, Sliders fan blog. Thanks for being here. Here's Rick Davies' book, The Essential Guide to the Prisoner. And this is actually what they sell at Port Marion, which is a real luxury resort. And has all kinds of interesting stuff about the locations, how they made Rover, which actually was... I'm going to turn this light down, or maybe just off. There you go. And 3 weeks, I think, before filming, he says right here, they thought Rover was going to be kind of a mechanical machine, and they weren't sure what they were going to do. And so I believe it was Patrick McGowan, and it says so here in great detail, saw, or maybe it was a production person, saw a weather balloon So they filled one, actually thousands over the course of the series, with water, helium, and dragged it around on a monofilament, which I know takes a little bit of the surprise out. But hey, you didn't think it was actually a big, self-moving ball. Here we have some locations around Port Marion. And extra special stuff. And this is only £2.99, so it's really inexpensive, but what a wonderful book this is. I mean, it's not called The Essential Guide for nothing. It's got stuff on location, wonderful photos, some of which Rick Davy owns the copyright to. And then, of course, episode by episode, he goes into detail about the plot, interesting details, production notes, information. Here, of course, is the one for Many Happy Returns. This week's episode. And the episodes that we have yet to go, or at least some of them, being that I am at this point, engendering you to watch the episodes as they are on Captain Cockney Spock's Annie disc list. But I was very happy to receive from Network, the people for whom Rick Davy worked, and he helped put together this 50th anniversary Blu-ray set, which is beautiful. The Network are the people responsible for the beautiful remastering that you can see for free with ads on Amazon Prime. But of course, if Captain Cockney Spock were here now, he would say, you must have the physical media. And he's right. Physical media is really the only way to go. There are a ton of extras on this set. Let's see. I will carefully pull out the insert so that I can let you know. Oh, I'm sorry. First, let me explain. To both Cam and Canadian Spider-Man, I accidentally, while I was buying the tactics books for the game that we're going to be playing with Captain Cockney Spock, either in private or in public over YouTube. This Dispatches #1, I got 3 copies of. So Cam, Canadian Spider-Man, you get free copies. Just please send me your mailing address, and they are yours. How's that for cool? There's only one guy this episode, but people are already getting free stuff. It has nothing to do with the episode, but let's see. 5 decades on from its first UK broadcast, The Prisoner remains as fresh and dynamic as when it was first unleashed upon an unsuspecting world in 1967, and boy, ain't that the truth. This set presents the complete series, stunningly restored, which is true, together with a wealth of special features. All 17 episodes presented with text commentaries. Those are the things that Rick contributed on each episode, detailing the production history. A feature-length commentary called In My Mind, which you can also watch on Amazon, and I do recommend that you do if you're a Prisoner fans. It's amazing. In which director Chris Rodley recalls his 1983 efforts to interview Patrick McGoohan for a Channel 4 documentary. This film features interviews with Catherine McGoohan, rare archival footage, and never-before-seen interview sessions with McGoohan himself, who was not really against it so much as he was a perfectionist, and they had done all the interviews, and he said he wanted to do them all over and that they should scrap those, which they did. Many happy returns. Revisiting the original locations used in The Prisoner. And if I could show them to you, I would. But during my birthday, I don't know why I said birthday, Halloween. Halloween is like more important than my birthday. It's my favorite holiday. During my Halloween 500 subscriber spooktacular, somebody showed some footage of a giant squid without the sound. And along with the opening, which was Danse Macabre by a French composer named Camille Saint-Saëns, which was recorded in 1758. Along with those two things, they just pulled the episode. They just deleted it. And they told me it was a warning. If I'd been monetized, they would have taken away my streaming privileges, and I would not have been able to post a video for an entire week. And that's just the first warning. Jesus Christ. Filming Arrival. Recently discovered home movie footage of the filming of Arrival, Danger Man, Colony 3, and A View from the Villa. So I was right. I've always said, if you're familiar with Danger Man, the episode Colony 3 seemed to me to be the prototypical episode for The Prisoner. And here they say, these two episodes, both highly relevant to see The Prisoner, are presented here in high definition. Now, Network has yet to produce a Danger Man high def set, like this one. But this is 17 episodes. Danger Man is 4 seasons. Or Secret Agent, depending on which side of the pond you live. So if they do it, it'll be a labor of love. They're not going to make any money back on it. Stills galleries featuring rare and never before seen photographs from official and personal archives. And Catherine McGoohan reflects on her father's work and legacy and much more. Now, having said all that, this is a Region B Blu-ray disc set. After all, it was produced in England or the UK previous to Brexit. You can go to the network site. They have a website. I would quote it, but I don't want to say that it's network.co.uk because it could be network.com for all I know. It might say on the back. But in any case, it is a beautiful masterpiece of a restoration. I've never seen anything restored so well. On the DVD, the 30th anniversary or the 40th anniversary DVD set that I already had, It came with a no, it was a Blu-ray set. It came with a DVD that had an unremastered episode of an alternate version of Arrival, the first episode, and it was so dark compared to this beautiful, just like it looks like it was made yesterday restoration. It was very hard to watch. After the first few minutes, I kind of remembered watching old VHS tapes. My friend Jeremy turned me on to The Prisoner many, many moons ago, and we would watch an episode of The Prisoner and then watch a movie, and we did that for, well, all 17 episodes. So I've already seen it in SD, but, you know, we rented those from the video store, and, you know, they looked just fine for what they were. But now, thank goodness, this show was rescued by Network. Network also, just as a for instance, sells this on their website. So I guess I might be able to tell you what it is. But you'll need a region-free Blu-ray player to watch their stuff, because it's all in Region B. ITV Studios. Oh gosh, network. Well, you know what? We're just going to move forward here. So Tim Curry in Blue Money. Looking forward to seeing that. Been a big Tim Curry fan since, well, Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is Patrick McGoohan in an adaptation, not an adaption. YouTubers out there, quit saying adaption. It's adaptation, for fuck's sake. This is Patrick McGoohan in a jazz version of Othello called All Night Long. It features Dave Brubeck, Charles Mingus, and looks to be a really fun view. But again, if I put this into my current DVD player, it would just say, you know, it would spit the disc out and say wrong disc or no disc or something like that. I also got an audience with Dudley Moore, who's one of my faves, also from Network. Absolute Power with Stephen Fry, which I've seen some of, but not all of it. Classic stand-up from The Big Yin, an audience with Billy Connolly. And let's face it, without Billy Connolly, stand-up would be very different. Good God. People knocking on the door, making me all freaked out. There's probably some more stuff from the network at the door. Do you guys want me to leave you briefly and go get it and we'll do an unboxing right now? Or should we stop the episode? Let's take a vote. If you would like me to briefly get up and get the stuff that just came and do an unboxing, put a 1 in the chat. And if not, put a 0 in the chat. And while you're deciding, I will retrieve said stuff, and we'll see what the vote tally is when I get back. And in the meantime, I have returned. So, let's take a look at what the vote tally is. Let's see, what do we miss here? Children of the night, what music they make. Okay, right, we got that. Herc130 says, at Cardinal Sin, the milkman that took the pilot spot to me meant not everyone was in on the village. Also note that when number 6 comes home, there is a milk bottle on his doorstep at his apartment. Coincidence or strange? True. Fact. Hail. Children of Night, Carol's Cookies. Cardinal Sin, wow, I'm so excited. That is freaking awesome. Well, you're welcome, man. It's my pleasure. I can't wait until we get into the thick of it. We're going to be doing the gaming all online. We already had a brief look at Captain Cockney Spock's diorama, which we will be gaming around. It is a Kabul tactics combat situation. Looked like there was a lot more anti-Taliban forces than there are pro. And I'm playing the Taliban, so I'll expect to be knocked off pretty quickly. But Carol's Cookie says, ooh, extra stuff. So I guess that's a 1. Cam is I'm jumping up and down. Sliders fan blog says, I heard in an interview where there was an actual mechanical rover and it died on set. So someone saw balloons above them and hence the solution. Yeah, more or less. That's true. Edge of Time. I wonder what the first victim did to get death by rover. Well, we actually saw that. You just have to go back and watch. Sliders fan blog says, I think it's okay to have a digital version, but you must have a physical backup. If anyone remembers the 1984 book debacle with Amazon. Actually, I don't. If you could briefly recap what happened, I will be more than happy to recite it. JPRPH1 is here, just popped in to leave a like. Cheers all. Thank you, my friend. Cam, Cardinal Sin, that is so generous and amazing of you. I really can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you. You're welcome. Wow. Cardinal Sin, that is fantastic. Man, you are the best. I think it's fucking cool. Yeah, it is very generous of you indeed and quite unexpected. Hope I can figure out how to play. Yeah, it's not LOL for me, man. This brain doesn't suck up rules like it used to. YouTube, they suck. Can't believe the arbitrary way they act. Yeah, I was about to say, thank you for reminding me, Cam. This friend of mine that I didn't really realize paid that much attention to my channel, my friend Jeremy, said that he saw them take away thousands of views on my channel while he was watching. I have a pretty small channel. I mean, I just, celebrated my 500 subscriber spooktacular celebration. But I need all the views I can get, all the view hours I can get. So please subscribe if you haven't already. And please let 5 of your best friends know that this is a channel that they would enjoy watching. And especially the people you hate. Darius Munchausen, chocolate cheesecake is not vegan. It was not chocolate, and it was not cheesecake. That's the point. Cam says, that prisoner collection looks great. Yeah, can't wait to dig into it. I've actually ordered 2 count them, 2 region-free, Ultra 4K Blu-ray players, and I've had to send them both back because they were not as advertised. Hail, Nazdrovi. Nice. Network has all kinds of goodies. Well, we might find out unless we have too many zeros here. Sliders fan blog says, unbox 1. Don't stop. That's what she said, and that's coming from a she. Ivan Ivanovich Hale says 1. Cam, get the door, Cardinal Sin. Darius Munchausen says to Ivan Ivanovich, Naz Drovi, 1. Sherry says 1. Canadian Spider-Man says 1. I think the ones have it. Ivan Ivanovich says, people who use Kindle can't be certain that the books that they buy on Kindle will always be available to read. Amazon reserves the right to edit works on Kindle. They also reserve the right to remove them entirely from your Kindle. I'm not sure if you knew that. Cam, Cardinal Sin, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure you have more manpower coming in the mail to the captain. Actually, more than he knows. I send him stuff all the time. It just takes like a month to get there. Although the 4K region-free Blu-ray player I sent him, even though it ended up not being a UHD player, and I was willing to have him send it back and buy him a more expensive one because he's, my brother, my partner, we're almost the same person. He said, nope, I've already got a UHD 4K player. I'm perfectly happy. That's great. Stream Elements Bot says, tip Cardinal Sin, you worked hard, and let's face it, you enjoy the content. And let's face it, since there are 12 of you here, you do. A she. Didn't I say a she? I mean, you've got the whole Catwoman thing going on, so I assumed you were a she. Sliders fan blog. Amazon claims it was third party selling on Amazon, so the 1984 book was removed from Kindles. Either way, everything being hauled back today. Hauled back today? It's a good idea to have a backup. Absolutely. If you could see my floor, backup. Darius Munchausen says to Carol's Cookies, not yet. Hail, you need to. I cannot be alone in this. But at Sherry, I read some too, but still, you should. And let Siri or an app read it to you, LOL. Wouldn't it be great if, they got Frank Langella to read, all the words that appear in books so that just every book that you buy could be read by Frank Langella. I love his baritone voice, the dulcet tones. If you've never seen Frost stroke Nixon, he doesn't imitate Nixon. He just uses that really low voice of his, and it sort of has the characterization of Nixon, but it's not like a Richard Little impersonation of Richard Nixon is not a crook. It's better, I think. Hey, here's Rick, the Unmutual website. Rick, get your butt in here. I'm flailing on my own. Yes, a she. Instead of a girl, lady, woman, a she is better. Well, you have a Frau, and then you have a Fräulein. There are girls, and then there are women. And I think that's all I have to say, being a toxic male myself. Let's see if there are any extra messages here. Nothing here. Let's see. Deliveries. having internet connection problems. We'll try and be there ASAP. Okay, so I sent him the link. He's got the link. Don't know what happened to Tracy Tormé and or Captain Cockney Spock, but his name is on the episode. So, I mean, the series. It is, after all, I'm Not a Number with Cardinal Sin and Captain Cockney Spock. You can't really see it there. I am in the waiting area, I think. Nope, you're not backstage. Oh my God, another delivery. I am unable to read anymore. I get blurry eyes, so I have to listen to PDFs. I would absolutely love to listen to Frank. I think we should start a petition. Sherry, however you pronounce it. Great idea. I was called toxic recently. I'm sorry, Carol. Or rather, well done, Carol. Cam, the Unmutual website. Hi, Rick. Indeed. I have clicked the link. I am on the waiting page. I do not see you. Let me make sure that you have the most recent one. So there is the link. It might be the same as the last one. Let me double check here. Yep. But I don't see you backstage, so maybe it's a computer issue. Could be. Right. Back to the show. I think he meant in a compliment, sort of flirty sort of way. Oh, okay. Yes, Yvonne is right. If you triggered an SJW, you must be doing something right. Okay. So everyone wants to see the unboxing. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, and many of you here are, you know that I have a show called The Unboxing, which normally I would do all of this on, but you voted for it, so I'm going to go get more stuff from the door. I'll be right back. You know, you buy an expensive pair of headphones and you think that the clip is going to stay on, and it doesn't, and it's frankly very disappointing. All right, let's get some light on this situation. Stuff is coming undone. No room. But there's plenty of room. No, actually, in my little bachelor pad, we're running out of room. Who doesn't like stuff? Yeah, everyone likes stuff. So we will do a little unboxing here. And for those of you that are concerned that I cut toward myself, please don't be alarmed. And hello,
Do a little unboxing.
Rick, the Unmutual.
Hello, sorry
Do
to
you have your
interrupt.
YouTube on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, and your echo is off.
But I'm now going to be quiet because I want to see what's in the box. Open the box.
I do
Open
too,
the box.
right?
Open the box.
If you could get some light in front of your face so we could see you, that would be
Goodness,
awesome.
That would be horrific for people, but let's give it a go.
No, it's
Now,
not true.
what's that? Halloween was 3 days ago, I'm sure.
Oh, there you go. Looking good, sir. Yeah, you must have had some serious internet issues.
Yeah, it wasn't letting me in the backstage area, which is putting my notifications for now. Nice
I
to
would
see
be
everybody.
happy to wait and let you make your observations about many happy returns
Open the box first.
before I
Everyone wants to see what's in the box.
unbox this stuff,
Go for
because
Go for it.
now that you're here, before I've unboxed anything, by the way, this air is from Ancient Babylon. Very expensive. Oh, just fantastic. I asked them to give me Ancient Babylonian air with every order. Very expensive. Oh, yes. Yes. I think I'm going to make you tell me what you think of Many Happy Returns first, Rick.
Oh, really? Oh, I feel so sorry for your listeners having to listen to me. I love Many Happy Returns. It's one of my favorite episodes. Ended up being directed by Patrick McGowan under a pseudonym of Joseph Surf after the original director became unwell.
So he wrote it and directed it.
He didn't write it. No, it was written by Anthony Skeen, who also wrote
see?
Dance
Prove
of
me
the
wrong
Dead
already.
and Alien Steve. Great episode. I really like Many Happy Returns. When I first saw the series, Many Happy Returns was shown in second place straight after Arrival, which is a bit of
really?
a bit of a weird thing.
That's kind of confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really. But I didn't really know any better at the time, so enjoyed it for what it was. But still enjoy
Sure.
it now. Great episode, brilliantly executed. Some lovely.
As long as they
sequences
show
in London.
Arrival first, it could work.
Yeah, exactly. As Tracy Tormé said, it really doesn't matter as long as you've got number 1 at number 1 and then 16 and 17 at 16 and 17.
Exactly.
I really like Many Happy Returns. I think it's it's great all the way through. Great ending. I'm interested by a couple of comments that I missed very early on in the chat. Who was it that mentioned that number 6 actually tells somebody his name in this episode? He does. He says his name's Peter Smith. Now everybody thinks, well, it's obviously a pseudonym. It's obviously a made-up name. Why would it be? He's trying to prove that he owns the house that he's standing in at the time. Finds a strange woman in his house.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point.
That he owns his house. Why on earth would he give a fake name? If I found someone else in my house,
I don't think that he's trying to prove that he owns the house so much as he's trying to prove that he used to live there.
Yeah, but exactly. So if I walked into my house and there were some strange people living in it, I think the last thing I would
Or that
do
he
is give a
rented
fake
it
name.
because he asked about the lease document, right?
Yeah, and his real name would be on that. So it'd be a bit of a stupid plan to say, I'm going to give a false name while you go upstairs and check the documents for the house, which will have my real name on it.
Yeah, good point.
So unless Peter Smith was possibly a secret agent alias name. But interestingly...
Well, we all know he's really John Drake, so...
Well, there's that as well. We could probably do 5 shows just on that conversation alone.
I mean, after all, well, we can just take care of it right here. Tracy Tormé said on a previous episode, I don't remember if you were here or not, but he said when he was talking to Patrick McGowan, who visited him in his office for 2 hours, and they talked about the prisoner, he asked him straight up, is number 6 John Drake? And he said something sort of cryptic and vague like, well, what do you think? Sorry. Well, what do you think?
You channeled him beautifully there. Pardon the sin, may I say.
It better not be the same one that I just sent back.
There are several
It
ways
kind of
to
looks
answer.
like the one I just sent back.
Ah,
No, it's a reconditioned unit that somebody else sent back, and it still doesn't say UDH. So I'm gonna have to send back another one.
oh goodness.
It's an LG 4K Blu-ray player. 4K is not actually 4K. It's like 3890 by 3890 or something like that. So there you go. There you have it. Oh, it does say HDR right here. You could miss it easily. So Ultra HD Premium. Well, we'll see. I have my doubts. But we'll see. Boy, it came in a big enough box, didn't it? Goodness. All right. This way forward or this way up. I'm not sure. Which is, oh, it comes from Amazon. That's how you say it over there in UK land, right? Across the pond. Amazon? Amazon, yes. Has anyone ever told you a little bit like John Pertwee? Just a smidge?
No.
Yeah, you do look a little bit like John Pertwee.
Oh, goodness.
Who I met. I met John Pertwee. Did I tell you that?
You didn't?
Yeah.
What was the circumstance?
I have a great story about it.
Go for it.
Me to tell.
I think everyone would love to hear.
I've told it before on the channel, but not all 11 of you have heard it, probably. So a friend of mine and I were going to a fan convention. That is, it was put on by fans, for fans, in Chicago called Visions. And I think it was mostly a UK science fiction convention. At least that year it was. I met and got autographs from Robert Llewellyn, who of course plays Crichton on Red Dwarf. Excuse me. Really had to get some phlegm out. Danny John Jules was there, the cat, so I got his autograph on a Better Than Life postcard. Paul Darrow was there, Avon himself. Now this is ancient Egyptian air from the Valley of the Kings. This is what the pharaohs used to breathe out. Very expensive. And nobody will care about this because this is personal stuff. A bunch of CD cases because all of mine are broken. So we'll use that as the sort of the dais, if you will. And if you don't mind, Rick, I will make myself big.
Goodness. But you said that to all the girls.
Yeah. That's what she said. Now, you probably already have this, so this may not be impressive to you, but as soon as I saw this, I had to have it. And to those of you out there in YouTube land, this is the Norwegian Blue set. Rick, any idea yet what it is?
Yeah, it's the 50th anniversary Monty Python set, isn't it?
You bet it is. He knows of which he speaks. And not only is this oh my goodness. Cable modem. Something fell down. Hit something else. I won't reach. First world problems, right? Well, if you can all still hear me and all still see me, then I've averted a disaster. Oh, wow. Oh. this is what I meant to put on the bottom. I've already showed this, but I'll show it again if you like. I guess that's what fell down. And of course, it wouldn't be right if the set didn't come in packaging. But not only is it British, but it is from the network. And I can tell I'm going to have to do some work here. Rick, do you have this set yourself?
I don't, but I was very lucky in being invited to the launch of it. It was at a very small kind of cinema in London, and they showed some of the episodes on the big screen, so that you could see the remastering of the film elements, and the film parts do look absolutely stunning.
I imagine.
Great set. And is it this? Have you got the set where it's not an exploding box, but the packaging kind of all flies open?
Yeah, it's the exploding box.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, good for you.
I mean, as far as I know, we'll find out. I'm going to make myself big again here. Wow, even the boxes has this wonderful feel to it. Man, Tracy and Captain Cockney Spock don't know what they're missing. So, yeah, this is the Norwegian Blu-ray set of Monty Python's Flying Circus. And it's got a picture of all the boys on the side. Well, I bet you guys stuck around for the unboxing on this one, huh? Wow! It is exploding. My goodness. Oh, Rick, you should have warned me.
There we go. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah. So here's season 1 with its little booklet. Wow. Thank you so much, Rick, for turning me on to the network. This is so cool.
Your bank balance won't thank you, but...
What's that?
Your bank balance won't be thanking you.
Well, hey, that's life. That's life.
But no, network are great. They do the best. They do the best versions of everything, and they bring out stuff that no one else.
What a great box set, yeah. And I expect, I heard that there was some funny business going on with the remastering, where the BBC had edited out some material. So I expect this is completely unexpurgated, right?
Yeah, I think they did manage to find all the bits and pieces and put them back in, and there's stuff there which has never been seen and so forth.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, boy, you came in at just the right time.
They obviously have the BBC archive, but they also had the Terry Gilliam family.
By the way, did you hear the Terry Gilliam family?
Well, and he and his family, I think his family look after.
Oh, okay. I was like, he hasn't passed, has he?
No, he hasn't. No, but I think his family look after. Kind of
have you heard the good news about Doctor Who?
Tell me what the news is, and I'll tell you whether it's good.
Well, of course, Russell T. Davies. Sorry, start again. Russell T. Davis is coming back.
He is,
and
compared to
his company with Julie Gardner, Bad Wolf, wrested away creative control from the BBC in toto. So they'll be calling the shots. No more of this diversity mandate, bullshit, woke stuff. They're going to be controlling the horizontal and the video, the vertical, and they'll be doing it in a proper way. So maybe my favorite show since I was a kid isn't fucked up forever. I think that's great news.
There's a downside to it, though. Christopher Eccleston won't come back and reprise the role in any specials because
that's all right. You know what, though? If they wanted to give Paul McGann 3 series, wouldn't bother me a bit.
We'd all love that.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with Paul McGann.
I mean, in Was it Night of the Doctor? He looked like he hadn't aged a day since 1996.
Well, he's still going strong. He still does the Big Finish audios with.
Yeah, they're very good.
And
of course, Mr. Neutron. And all the Gumby you can shake a stick at. Wow, this is great. I can't wait. I hope that Blu-ray player is truly multi-region, regionless, 4K UHD, etc. Wow, it's so explosive. I can't put it back together.
I was going to say, yeah, good luck getting the lid back on.
Yeah.
But to answer your question earlier about number 6 and John Drake, after all, we are here for the prisoner. There's 3 different ways to answer this question. Firstly, can they legally be the same characters? And the answer is no.
No.
We know that they didn't have the rights to use the John Drake name. Although I always think
he's as close to John Drake as makes no difference.
Well, no, I think he's as far away from John Drake as you can get. John Drake,
and I think in this episode it proves it, and here's why.
Okay, go on.
Only an operative on the level of John Drake would be able to spend 18 days at sea using a needle and a speaker magnet as a compass to find his way back home. And let's face it, he pretty much
skilled agent. That doesn't make it. I'll tell you why. Conceptually, on the screen, he isn't John Drake. John Drake and number 6 live in different houses. They drive different cars. They work in different places.
And they act completely differently.
And they act completely differently. One is engaged and the other one isn't. John Drake is clearly single. You couldn't get 2 completely different characters. The only thing that they've got in similar is that they look the same. Well, of course they do. They're played by the same actor. Does that mean that John Drake is also in 4 episodes of Columbo? Of course it doesn't. So
no.
If you're talking about what happens on screen, then you couldn't have 2 more completely different characters. If you're talking legally, they can't be the same, so therefore they're not the same character. The only reason that you could think of them as the same
you sound like Captain Cockney Spock now.
Well, there you go. He talks a lot of sense, that man. But in private, you're right that Patrick McGoohan did intimate to a few people years after the show had finished that they could be the same character. So does that put everything else out the window? I don't know.
And in fact, no. But in fact, I think Patrick McGoohan subtly affirmed to Tracy Tormé that yes, they're more or less the same person.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but
one is styled on the other. Let's say.
Technically, number 6 is also you, and he's also Donald Trump, and he's also me, and he's also
did you say
he's
2?
Everybody. The whole point of the series is that number 6 is all
me.
He is every man. Therefore, he is John Drake. And
we are all in the village.
Exactly.
In the village.
Number 6 is John Drake, but yet isn't at the same time. How about that?
Correct.
Yeah.
So let's see. We have some people in the chat here. Sliders fan blog. Oh, whew. Don't worry, I cut the same way. Good. Let's see. Pretty clear in this episode that number 6 has a government job. And Ivan Ivanovich goes on to say, I suggest the only reason he's not John Drake is to keep the rights to the prisoner separate from the rights to Danger Man. And of course, he does have a point. Oh, how about this? Herc 130 says, that is his James Bond name. Smith.
Could be.
Peter Smith.
Why not?
Hail D. Bud Martin. Carol's Cookie says, I want stuff in a box so I can unbox it.
Oh, we should have
D. Bud Martin. Hail Can.
Try and get Carol a box.
Yes, I agree. Dandelion Fluff. Yippee inbox. Oh, yippee! I thought it was the Youth International Party. I was like, they have an inbox still? Isn't that kind of late in the day for that? Cool, says Sliders fan blog. Wow, that is amazingly cool. And hail. All right. So, Rick, were you listening since the beginning?
No, I wasn't able to catch the first 5 minutes or so. I don't think so. We started.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go back into what I had prepared and get sort of your feedback.
Okay.
So there's no dialogue for the first 15 minutes. Then it's in Romani. Then he finds out he's in England. Goes to London by jumping into the back of a truck, which we've seen him do before. If there were any doubt that his side was running the village, or at least co-running it, there can be no doubt by now.
Really?
What do you think? I think in this episode, when he goes back and then they, are helping him find the village so that they can wipe it out or do whatever, and then the guy kicks him out and says, "Be seeing you."
Yeah. But the guy that
leaves no doubt that
the guy that
either they're running it or they're co-running it.
No, the guy that kicks him out and says, "Be seeing you," was the milkman that turned up at the airfield. The original pilot didn't end up piloting the plane.
Oh,
so why would his own side send a man dressed as a milkman to try and get rid of the original?
Good
pilot?
point. I didn't catch that. See, this is why I'm double checking this stuff with you.
That's quite all right. So
the plot.
His superiors send a policeman to interview Mrs. Butterworth at his house. Why would they send a policeman to interview someone that's working for them already? It wouldn't happen.
Good point.
So I think it's completely the opposite. I think this is the episode that shows you that it's not his own side.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so Six wakes up to find that the ever busy and controlled village has been deserted, completely so, in fact. As a result, he takes his chance and legs it, or rather takes a taxi. One long trip across the ocean and a failed attempt to rob a boat being driven by gunrunners. Later, he is back in Great Britain. He tries to catch up with life at his old town home before running to update the government on his exploits in the village, and all on the day before his birthday. I don't really think I have to repeat myself much on just how strange this whole series is. You know the drill at this point. Credit to Patrick McGoohan. He sold me on this weird serial with quite a bit of political allegory and character interactions. The show has ranged from amusing to dramatic to downright terrifying in some spots. And invariably, it's been captivating, brilliant, and maybe moving in the case of one or two scenes. And now in this episode, we're taking a look at the fact that the series decides to ratchet up the gambles even further by starting the episode with most of the cast gone. And I'm sorry, I didn't think this was Red Dwarf. Yeah, the first act of this episode revolves around McGoohan and McGoohan alone, and it transpires that Six is on his own in the village. The radio is silent, the phones are disconnected, or at least not being answered. The loudspeaker of doom is not broadcasting. Cafes are empty with the tables toppled over. The bell tolls for no one. Doors are either locked or left ajar, as in the case of number 2's office, and the lights are out. Number 2 is nowhere to be seen. One can draw two conclusions. 1, they're all dead. Everybody's dead. Everybody is dead, Dave. Or number 2, the village is screwing with number 6 again. So that's more or less the first 5 minutes. Your thoughts? Rick?
Yeah, you've pretty much got that. That's fun. I can't think of any other show that did 15 minutes of silence at the start.
Your audio is roboting out.
Essentially on the screen, where did all the villagers
If you could speak more slowly, that might help.
Let me turn off the camera. That might help.
No, we just can't see you. I'd rather be able to see you and see your lips move and have you kind of talk really, really fast with a little bit of the intermittent sort of get the thing like that than not.
Oh.
People think that turning the camera off helps the audio, but actually it doesn't. You're still roboting out. It actually has to do with the strength of my internet, which you're connecting to. And of course, your internet, but turning off the camera doesn't help.
Okay. Well, my internet's terrible.
And now you sound fine.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. My internet is kind of run by carrier pigeon, so that's why it's... Okay, great. So what was I saying? I've absolutely completely forgotten. Where did all
your response to my first 5 minutes
go, do you think? That's what's always intrigued me about the start of
That's what I asked. Was there a bomb shelter that they all went into and somebody put the lid on and put brush on, and then we never saw the helicopter in this episode. Somebody could have put brush on top of that hatch and taken the helicopter off. But then when he gets back, they're all there.
Oh, there's a deleted scene, actually, where he did try the helicopter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a deleted scene where he does try the helicopter. Yeah, it shows up in Fallout in the last episode. There's a brief shot of it used in that episode, but it wasn't actually obviously used in the finished Many Happy Returns. But there's a theory about the series that people have put forward that the whole village is only there for number 6's benefit.
Yes.
It's not a place to put lots of different prisoners. Only there for number 6's benefit. Now, if we believe that, this episode makes a little bit more sense, because otherwise, we can understand why all the villagers be herded into somewhere. Why would all the other prisoners willingly, joining this plot against number 6 to make the place look empty? Why aren't they all trying to escape at the same time? So, is the village only there for number 6? That's an unanswerable question.
That's something I asked from the very first episode, and I think a lot of other people did too. And I agree. I think in this case, it shows that is the case. Well put. Fair point. What else do we have here?
For those that are interested in sort of facts of the series, not when the other Portmarian sequences were filmed. These were, if you notice, it's kind of a bit wintry. This was actually filmed in March 1967, these sequences, whereas the other Portmarian episodes that we see were filmed in
September
1966. So they went back for a week, exactly. They went back for a week in March 67 to do these sequences and sequences for Harry's Round, a couple of other episodes as well. So that's why the Portmarian sequences have a slightly different, kind of more eerie feel, simply because they were filmed in the spring rather than in the autumn. And originally, this was to be the final episode of Series 1, when the series concept was put together. I think there would be several series of 13 episodes.
Were they going to do like 10 or 13 episodes?
Running order mid to autumn. They were going to do 13, have a break, and then do another 13. Yeah. But by the time all 66 came along, CBS decided, no, we want this as a summer filler in the States. We're only going to purchase 17 episodes, so therefore 17 was decided upon at that point. And then when they'd finished the first 13, they realised they couldn't really go much further with it, so only a further 4 were made to make that 17 and fulfil the CBS order. But originally, Many Happy Returns was going to be the final episode of Series 1. It would have been a great series finale, wouldn't it? My God, he's got out. This is fantastic. And then, of course...
That would have been a great series finale, except for we can't talk about the actual series finale.
Exactly.
Let's see. We have lots of stuff from Sliders fan blog, who says, that's interesting. I didn't realize he was the milkman. So I'm not the other person, not the only person that was in the dark.
Lots of people miss that.
He also says, other reason I thought he was losing it mentally or was under psychological control, like with the experiments, etc. Rick, maybe you can help settle something for me. I've never understood why people in the UK say etc. instead of etc. Any ideas? Or is it just me?
Etc. How should one say
etc. etc. etc.
Yeah, as Yul Brynner does in King and I.
Indeed, very well played. You haven't noticed people in the UK saying etc.
Etc. Well, if they do, then they're idiots, aren't they? So,
that's what I thought.
If you've heard people do that, then slap them down. Verbally.
There's idiots on both sides of the pond. Let's face it. I mean, I've always been an Anglophile since I was a kid, and I've always thought, people in England are smart and funny and good looking, and they're still
they were, but
racist,
then I left to Wales,
hicks and people of low moral character in the UK, just like there are in the US.
Well, certainly in the government.
Darius Munchausen says the internet is unmutual. Red Walrus TM NC52. Howdy. Hail. This is my favorite Prisoner episode. He's not the first person I've heard say that.
Mm-hmm. Great episode.
Very good. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it, Cardinal? I haven't heard your actual opinion.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, I very much enjoyed it. Actually, I saw it not too long ago. Probably when I first got the Blu-ray set, I pulled out the second disc and watched the first episode instead of the first disc or something like that. But I remember watching it, this year or late last year sometime. So, I quite enjoyed it. I was really surprised when the milkman pushes him out of the plane and says, "Be seeing you." And that's what made me think this is a dead giveaway that the government for which he used to work is at least partially complicit in this whole, put on to find out why he resigned. Because it's an extraordinary rendition, isn't it?
Well, it is, but then they already know why he resigned because they've got his resignation letter.
That's right, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then, of course, later he says, for conscientious reasons.
Yeah, that's right. So but as Leo McKern says, it's not about that question. It's about if he tells us this, then the rest will follow. It means we've got him. If he tells us anything at all, we can then get what we want out of him. Is it that?
I think I missed that.
It could be. It could be that it's the other side. It could be that it's his own side. But if it is his own side, it seems as though his direct superiors don't seem to be aware of it. I don't think that the two people he reports to in this episode, the Colonel and Thorpe, I don't think they know what the village is. I don't think they're hiding anything. I don't think
they're too high up.
Yeah, or too high up or too low down.
MI5 or whatever.
They're oblivious to it. So if it is his own side, then it's
whether they're characters playing a role.
Yeah. As I say, I can't see why they would send a policeman round to interview Mrs. Butterworth if Mrs. Butterworth was working for them.
Now I have to watch the episode all over again. You put all these things in my mind. My mind is going. I can feel it going. I'm sorry, Rick. I can't do that right now. Ivan Ivanovich says, there's an American content creator who says, etc. makes me cringe. T-Bud Martin says, Twitter is definitely unmutual. YouTube has been pretty fucking unmutual lately. Darius Munchausen, it gives me a headache and I reach for the Excedrin when he hears someone say, etc. Very clever. Well played, Darius Munchausen. And Sliders fan blog says color or gray or gray. Sort of, I guess, in an homage to tomato. Let's call the whole thing off.
To be fair, we invented the language, so I think we can say things how we like.
Yeah. I grew up in the home of a scientist and a housewife who graduated with a degree in advertising. So she knew proper grammar. She knew how to write. Her brother, my uncle, has been editor of the newspaper in every town he's lived in, including Guam, where they have a little thing called TV Guam, which is kind of like TV Guide. You're familiar with TV Guide, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned scientists. You mentioned a scientist there. What's your opinion on the interviews that McGowan gave where he says Number 6 wasn't a spy, he was a scientist?
Or didn't he say he could have been a scientist?
Well, he says, but he says in one episode, he said he could just as easily, in one interview, he said, you're quite right. He said he could just as easily be a scientist. And then in another interview, he says that the show is about one scientist's struggle. So that's two
that would clearly be the controller.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the fact that he might not be a secret? I always thought he was a secret agent, but what's your thoughts?
He's got to be a secret agent. He has to.
I always thought he was.
First of all of the things that he knows how to do, how do the SEALs put it? The extra special training to resist torture. What is that called? Sears training, I think.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody, Ivan Ivanovich, I think, will probably either correct me or agree that it is called Sears training. I think it's SEERS. And it's got to do with resisting torture, different methods of torture, or maybe it's SEER. But it's been taught to especially high-level operatives, as well as, officers and soldiers for decades.
Would someone high up in the military or scientific intelligence also have that sort of training?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They might not go through boot camp, but if they were high up enough in military intelligence, they would definitely get that SEER training. I'm almost certain it's called SEER training. Let me just share the website here while we're looking this up. This is the Unmutual website, where you can find all kinds of news.
Less with a plug. How kind of you.
Of course. In every episode. I actually went through your book earlier, page by page.
Well, you are kind. That wouldn't have taken you long, to be fair.
Yes, it is called SEER training. Welcome to SEER training. National Cancer Institute. No, that's the wrong one. Military. Let's put military in there. Yeah. SEER training military. SERE, apparently. Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape is a training program best known by its military acronym that prepares U.S. military personnel, U.S. Department of Defense civilians, and private military contractors to survive and return with honor in survival scenarios. So there you go. So what's going on with Danger Man lately? Everything. Wow, look at this. Documentary, which can be found here. Wow, cool, man. Every time I open up your website, I find something else that I want to check out, which is a great reason for people to visit it often. It even has the Danger Man logo. Look at that.
You're very kind to give it a play.
I'm just very interested. I mean, kind's got nothing to do with it. Danger Man at Port Marion. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
6
right. I
episodes
forgot
of,
that they filmed some of it there.
Yeah, that's where McGowan first found out about the place.
Sure, yeah.
And
And
he said that when he went, that someone should use this in a movie, and of course he went on to film The Prisoner there. Of course,
was it in your
Just
book
doing
that
it
I read?
now, Cardinal Sin. Check your inbox in it, and you will find something of interest, I'm sure.
A little treat?
I wouldn't call it a treat, but it was just followed on from something you said earlier on about when you were talking about John Pertwee.
Oh, wow. Cool. We'll definitely share that. Let me download
So we have things
that
in
real
common.
quick.
So we have things in common. We have
We
things not in
do.
common, also things in common. So that's
We have more in common than we think.
so can I ask, Cardinal, when you first saw The Prisoner, did you know,
Mhm.
have you ever heard of Port Marion, and did you know what or where Port Marion was? Or were you watching the series
No.
thinking, where is this place?
I
This place?
figured it was in Italy somewhere.
Right, okay. That's great, because that's what they were trying to do is film it somewhere where it could be anywhere, and it sounds like they succeeded, so that's great. I'd never
Look
heard of
at that. Who's that
There we
handsome guy standing next to Danny John Jules?
it. Oh well, that was me, a younger me.
And Chris Berry, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And I didn't get to meet them. Oh, but look, right there. There he is as Rema.
Yeah.
Right behind the two of you. You can see the photo of, he even has the little H on the hologram. You see?
Yeah, I was very proud to meet them. Nice, really nice people.
Oh yeah. And the thing I was going to mention earlier was that earlier I was talking about how there were certain similarities between Red Dwarf and The Prisoner, although I'm sure almost all of them have to do with Red Dwarf, emulating The Prisoner. In fact, I think there's an episode in which Crichton does the number on number 6, doesn't he? Are you familiar with Red Dwarf?
I like Red Dwarf, and I'm quite familiar with the first kind of 3 or 4 series. Not quite as with the later stuff, which is might be where that comes from.
I've got the first 8 series on DVD, and to me, season 10 doesn't exist. It's not part of my head canon. However, seasons 11, 12, and 13 are really good. I mean, in this photograph, you see that Chris Berry is balding. They filmed the seasons 11, 12, and 13 in front of a studio audience, so they went back to that. And they put him in a toupee that I didn't know that he was balding until, I saw the extras and the bonus features, and he's talking and he's not wearing the toupee, but it looks exactly like the first few seasons. And if you haven't seen seasons 11, 12, and 13, you should. They're very funny.
I guess they do that because they're trying to suggest that holograms don't age. So therefore, they need to try and keep him looking as young as he was to begin with.
And he's quite fit. I mean, he looks really good. Yeah, he looks a lot like he did before. They kind of all do, except maybe for Craig Charles. He's a little older. He's a little plumper. But I mean, it has been 3 million years. So, and of course, Kreider's always looks the same. The boys from the Dwarf, as it were. So, yes, I do enjoy some Red Dwarf. And what Canadian Spider-Man was saying earlier was that he thinks that Craig Charles is really funny. And I forgot to mention that in the audiobooks of Better Than Life, and I think it's Eternity Welcomes Careful Drivers, the two books that Doug Naylor wrote that were made into audiobooks, Chris Berry does the voices of the entire cast, and he does them very, very well. You know, he does the whole
as a stand-up comic and impressionist here in the UK. He used to come on the stage and do impressions of people. That was his act.
There you go.
Or he was an actor.
He does that Craig Charles kind of what is it, Cockney slang sort of. You know, when he's reading bits
Scouse,
that sound like
Craig Charles is
that sound like that. Now my brain is going into some kind of strange mode. Dave Lister, when he's doing Dave Lister, you know, he sort of sounds, you know, a bit like Dave Lister, a lot more than that did. And then, you know, when he's playing Crichton, he sounds just like Robert Llewellyn, and etc. You know, so
really nice guy as well.
Yeah,
Some people when you meet people that you would kind of admire for what they do on the TV, it can sometimes be a letdown, but they were such nice people. And Chris Berry was so generous with his time and really, really lovely guy. So, you know, that was nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can meet people and they're a bit of a letdown, or it can be unpleasant or whatever. But most of the people
they do say, be careful meeting your heroes.
Yeah. That's
and, you know, with people like Ernest Hemingway and stuff like that, I can totally see that. But yeah, when I haven't told the story about meeting John Pertwee. So my friend and I go to Chicago, and of course, being Americans, we're late. And so we're like holding our luggage, each of us, and we go into the main hall where, you know, you have to check into the hotel, which is where they're having the convention. And you know, we open the doors and kind of fumble our way in, bumbling Americans that we are. And John Pertwee has just finished a speaking engagement, you know, in front of a room full of people, huge convention room, you know, like Hall H at Comic-Con or something like that. And so he falls in behind us, and we don't know he's there. And so from behind us, we hear, "Just arrive." And we turn around, and he's totally decked out as the Third Doctor. He's got his cloak, you know, he's got the riffs in his cuffs, you know, just exactly. Doesn't look a day older than, you know, the stuff that he did as the Third Doctor. And I literally, and Rick, you know that I'm a guy that loves to hear the sound of his own voice. I literally am speechless, and my mouth is open. I'm sitting there agape, just going, there's the Doctor right there in front of me, you know? And fortunately, my friend was not so spellbound, and he said, yes, yeah, we just got here. And he said something like, you know, my brain fogged at that point, but he said something like, well, have a good time. And I'm still like, you know, totally agape. And he turned around and walked off. And yes, I fangirled out. I was like a 14-year-old girl, wet to the knees. You know, I finally broke out of the spell, and I was like, wow, I can die now. And when we got back to Lawrence, when we got back home, my friend Joe told me that Pertwee heard me, and he turned around and he winked at him, and I was just like, Wah! You know. Actually, Tom Baker is my favorite Doctor, hands down. But John Pertwee, love me some John Pertwee. Whoa. I mean, really, whoa.
Was Tom Baker the first one you saw? Because a lot of people's favourite
Yes.
Doctor are the one. Yeah, because my favourite is Peter Davison, because he was the Doctor I grew up with watching it when I was a kid. So it's amazing.
And as the 10th Doctor said, you were my doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
In Time Crash.
And he was, yes, he was. And he was mine too. It's funny how your first one sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And,
although if I'd seen Pertwee first, I'm sure that would have been my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever you would see first. If I'd have been 5 years older, it would have been Baker. Baker would have been my first. So that's just the way things fell, or that's just the time I fell out. There are a lot of connections between the Prisoner and Doctor Who. Almost every Prisoner episode, but not every Prisoner episode, but almost every Prisoner episode has someone in it that appeared in Doctor Who.
That was in Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh, this episode doesn't actually. Funnily enough, many have returns, because I don't think Donald Cinder.
No, but isn't oh God. Don't mind me. You can vamp while I'm looking for this.
Okay, no problem.
I know I'm going to screw up the name if I don't look at it. Georgiana Cookson.
Georgina Cookson. Was she
Georgina.
in Doctor Who? She might have been. I can't think of who she was.
No, I was thinking that I think that she appears in another episode of The Prisoner, doesn't she?
She does. She appears in the A, B, and C. She appears in the roulette sequence at the part one on
Yeah, and the party. Yeah, that's
number
right.
6, number 6, the key. Mrs. Butterworth's housekeeper or maid or whatever she is in Many Have Returns appears in a later episode of The Prisoner, again as a completely different character, of course. And Thorpe, who appeared in Many Have Returns, appears as number 2 in a later episode of The Prisoner as well. So lots of recurring actors, but always playing different characters. We can't fall into the trap of thinking that they're the same character each time, because then that way lies mad. And it's hard enough to get your head around some of these things as it is without trying to match up different characters in different episodes.
I was just going to try and see if I could oh yes, that's right. If I could give Cam a little fanboy moment here. I'm going to have to do a little searching. I think I know where it is, but I'm sure, Rick, you already know what I'm thinking about. Let's go here, and I'm going to go down to photos and see if it's in here. No, I've got my 2000 AD photos in there. Well, I can just look it up, I suppose, just as easily. Just as a gag, I guess, Sean Pertwee took a selfie of himself. Well, who else would we take a selfie of? Of himself in his dad's gear.
I always thought he'd make a good doctor, Sean.
Oh, me too. There it is.
Probably too late for him now, but
I don't know. I think he could.
I think they're going to go
well.
young for the next one. I think they're going to go kind of back to a kind of Matt Smith type age of.
I don't know if you heard the rumor, but the rumor was that Edgar Wright had said that he wanted to be the next Doctor.
Okay.
Oh, this is interesting. I hadn't heard this. First, I'll show you the picture. Sorry, folks, it's a one-man show.
Might have made a decent number 6. I know nobody is McGowan, and remakes of The Prisoner always, but I think Sean Pertwee would have made a good number 6. I like Sean
I
Pertwee.
think he would have made a great number 6. He would have made a great Doctor. This keeps showing me the same page, so I'll just go back to this and see if I can get the photo. No. But trust me, it's worth the wait, folks. It really, really is. All right, so I'll just share this screen here. First, I have to find my way back to you guys. There we go. And this is really incredible when you get a good look at it. I'm going to try and make one of these bigger. So this is Sean Pertwee dressed up as his dad.
That's great.
And he's taking a selfie, you can see there. Gosh, I hope that isn't Google Lens. I don't want to take any chances on it being Google Lens. But yeah, you can see, especially here when they do the, the sort of comparison. Yeah. It's uncanny. I mean, he looks more like John Pertwee than John Pertwee does. So he dressed up as his father for Halloween.
That's great.
And then, after seeing that, apparently it says here, John Pertwee's son Sean confirms he was asked to appear in Doctor Who. You might remember a while ago, this is June 17th, 2016, by Mark on, it looks like Following the Nerd. You might remember a while ago we posted images of the third Doctor, John Pertwee's son Sean, dressed as his dad in the iconic role. The resemblance was frankly uncanny, as you can see above. Well, now it seems that the fan dream of him playing the third incarnation of the Time Lord may have been a closer thing than we ever imagined. Speaking to Radio Times, the actor, best known in nerd circles as Alfred Pennyworth in Gotham, revealed that he was approached to be in the sci-fi series. I've never been asked before. I was actually asked last season. I couldn't do it because of Gotham. Wait, what? I'd love to be in some capacity be involved as an ode to my father and to Roger Delgado, who was my dad's best friend, who was the master. It would be an honor, spelled with a U, to be involved in something like that. You know, it's a big thing. Doctor Who's a massive thing in America now, and they're also looking to the older Doctors, which I think is really kind of cool. They're looking back as well, not just forward. Now, Pertwee didn't say what the role was, and in all fairness, it may not have been to play the old Doctor, but that said, we're hearing that Paul McGann, Matt Smith, and David Tennant, here, are looking to return to their roles, so wouldn't it be glorious if we saw them back with a third Doctor, too? So that's kind of an interesting thing, but that was back in 2016, so, you know, rumors. But, yeah, I think, you know, it's been said by, I think both Russell T. Davies and Peter Moffat that as writers, they disdain multi-doctor stories because it's kind of a gimmick. But let's face it, the Three Doctors was fucking brilliant with Omega and everything. That was just great. The Five Doctors, gimmicky. The Two Doctors with Patrick Troughton and Colin Baker, delicious, wonderful. The Three Doctors with Patrick Troughton and Colin Baker, delicious, wonderful. delicious, wonderful. The Five Doctors, gimmicky. The Two Doctors with Patrick Troughton and Colin Baker, delicious, wonderful. Delicious, wonderful. the Five Doctors, as the 20th anniversary thing, they, paired doctors together with other doctors' companions and did all kinds of gimmicky stuff. And the Master, had them go through all these trips and tracks and stuff like that, and trips and traps.
I've always had a soft spot for the Five Doctors, though. I know it is gimmicky, but
I have too. But looking back on it, being a screenwriter, it just doesn't really stand up. It's just not that good. Not compared to the Three Doctors and the Two Doctors. And of course, the Day of the Doctor and the Night of the Doctor, I think blows the Five Doctors away. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for the Five Doctors because when I was young, it was the only multi-doctor story there was. And I think that if we saw a multi-doctor story for the 60th anniversary that disincluded Jodie Whittaker and had Sean Pertwee as the Third Doctor with whoever else, I think that would be wonderful. Let's see. Well, this is an interesting question. First of all, of course, Carol's Cookie says, "You'll never break me." And Slider's fan blog asks a question, Rick. I assume McGowan was a fan of The Twilight Zone? Did we discuss this last time?
I think we did, and we don't know if he was or wasn't because he never mentioned it. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was on his radar. But
certainly, yeah. I think it's safe to say when he was first doing television and films, that The Twilight Zone was on in the UK at that time, right?
Yeah, it would have been. Whether he watched it or not, he did have kind of quite fairly eclectic and strange taste. He kind of liked a lot of world cinema and stuff. And whether he sat and had time to sit and watch the TV.
I mean, it seems to me like just from his interests that if he'd seen an episode or two of The Twilight Zone, he would have been a fan. But that's, just a wild guess.
I think
Slider's fan blog.
The offbeat things. Whenever he was asked about anything, were you influenced by such and such? He always said no. People have said The Prisoner is Kafka-esque, and he said, "Oh, I've never read any Kafka." And people say, "Oh, you've got this character called Joseph Surf. He's in a such and such novel." And go, "Oh, well, I never knew that. I just plucked it out the air." So if he was influenced, he'd have never kind of admitted to it anyway. To be fair.
Yeah, it's an obvious homage. Ivan Ivanovich says, before the internet, info like that was scarce. The first time I heard of Port Marion was in reading the end credits to the series as it flashed across the screen. I've watched the end credits many times, and I've never seen anything about Port Marion.
Only in the last episode. It's not actually the end credits. It's at the start of the last episode. At the start, it goes who directed it, who the guest stars, and then it says filmed in the grounds of the Hotel Port Marion by kind permission of Sir Clough Williams Ellis. Or he might not have been a Sir then, might have just said Clough. So at the start of the last episode, it says it on the opening title credits, not at the end credits, but I know what Ivan means, of course.
And I have to say to Ivan Ivanovich, it's very rare that he's corrected. Actually, he did say the end credits to the series as it flashed across the screen. You're saying it was at the beginning of the show.
It's the beginning of the last episode's credits.
Okay.
So the start,
he's mostly.
It is the end of the series. So you're quite correct on that. But it's not in the end.
Carol's Cookies says, "Don't meet your heroes." Yvonne says, "I met a few and was surprised how smart they were."
Sure.
And the kind of TV that we're all into, the actors are cool. They're nice. They're happy to have work, as opposed to sort of Hollywood actors that, mostly, are method actors and aren't very smart.
Funny enough, the only ones that have annoyed
and will never shut up
are the ones that are least famous. I think I found that the more famous someone is, the more pleasant they are. Whereas some of the people that you kind of have hardly really done anything, they're really up themselves and they think they're far more important than they actually are.
Everybody that I met at that Visions convention, that fan convention, everybody from Red Dwarf, I mean, who could have been nicer than John Pertwee after the story that I just told you, I'm sure if I'd gotten there earlier and been in line and gotten, actually I did get photos signed. Only here, folks. Don't worry. This sounds like it's damaging, but it's not. That might, though. I really need to frame these. So now that we're talking about John Pertwee, I'm going to go ahead and edge you out altogether just so that people can see. So this says, I'm going to turn off the light. Oh, now that we've got the Monty Python set out of the box. To Gil, John Pertwee, Who 3, and I think this is from a horror movie, not Doctor Who, but it's also signed John Pertwee, Who number 3. So I did get autographed photos. I'd forgotten all about that. So little extra bonus feature here for you folks at the end. What else do we have? Cam says, nice Pertwee in full Doctor regalia. Rick, were you able to see those photos?
I was, yep, great stuff. I just turned my camera off for a second just to have a
okay.
check. Yep, good to see those.
Tom Baker was the first Doctor to appear in the U.S. That's probably true. I mean, he did have a 7-year run, and he was the first Doctor that I saw. And
any Doctor actors that would have made a good number 2?
I never missed an appointment with Doctor Who. Living in Lawrence, we're in between Kansas City and Topeka, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. And there's a PBS station in each city. So every weekday, we got a half hour of Doctor Who. And then every Friday, we got, the full episode, the whole story, as it were. So I was choked to the gills, if you'll pardon the pun, with Doctor Who. And I never missed an episode. Not a single time. Cam. I love the idea of multiple Doctors, including the third. The 3 Doctors is great. Yeah, the 3 Doctors is just legendary. Ivan Ivanovich, my problem with the 5 Doctors was that they made Cardinal Barusa a villain. Well, he was a villain. He was already a villain. I mean, just watch the 4th Doctor. Yvonne goes on to say, from the sound of it, McGowan was too busy to watch much television. That's probably true. Hail, Stephen Amore. Hey guys, Dad worked on the final episodes of the series and knows McGowan. Knew McGowan. Well, that's cool. Sounds to me like, Rick, you and Stephen should compare notes.
Yeah, Stephen. Maybe tell us who it was.
Get some stuff for the next edition of the Essential Guide, right?
Well, there's always lots of room on the website for more interviews. So tell us more, Stephen.
Yes, absolutely. Stephen, if you want to email me, I will put you in touch with Rick.
Very kind. Thank you. That would be great.
So you can compare notes. I'm at gil@sunflower.com. And if you're a Twitter type, as am I am at Gil Bavell. So by all means, send me an email and I will forward it to Rick. And you guys can compare notes. Maybe a little money will change hands. Who knows?
Gil, I don't know if you Cardinal Sin, I beg your pardon. I don't know if you heard. I put a question to you.
You can call me Gil. It's fine.
People often say, which other actors would have been great number twos for the Prisoner series. Are there any doctors that you think would have made a great number two?
No one's ever asked me that before. I don't think I've ever thought of that before. I think certainly Tom Baker would have been an outrageously good number two. I don't think he would have made a very good number six.
No, I don't think any of the all the Doctor Who actors are too
over the top.
Weird's the wrong word. Kind of off the wall. They're all slightly off the wall actors, which is why they're kind of.
Well, they're all larger than life,
Yeah, exactly.
and
number six didn't need to be larger.
Number six has to be reserved and contained, and let's see who else.
Colin Baker.
You know who would have made a really good number two is Patrick McNee, but he wasn't a doctor. But still,
he wasn't. But he would.
He would have been a great number two. Let's see.
I mean, there's a lot of good.
William Hartnell, of course, in his prime.
Ricardo Montalban.
William Hartnell in his prime would have made a great number two, but at that time, it wouldn't have worked. Peter Capaldi would have made a great number two. There's a TV series that he did in England where he was incredibly foul-mouthed. I don't know the name of the show, but you do, I'm sure.
William Hartnell?
No. Peter Capaldi.
Oh yes, it
was before Doctor Who.
Yeah, it was called The Thick of It. It was a kind of takeoff
The Thick of It
political system where he plays the prime minister or whatever. Yeah, no, very, very good.
And he drops F-bombs all the time, and
very much so. Yeah, exactly.
And very funny stuff.
One thing that we regularly come back to, Cardinal, on these episodes is the ordering of the episodes. Where do you feel Many Happy Returns should be?
I think your idea of the finale is a very good one, except of course we can't go there. I think around this area, the sort of midsection, we're at, technically episode 7, but episode 8 of our show, because the first one was, the captain and I and the captain and me and Tracy Tormé talking about the series as a whole, and Tracy, talked about his experience of meeting Patrick McGowan and talking to him about the prisoner and all that kind of thing. So I think somewhere between 7 and 10.
I think that works for me too. I say when I first saw it, then that makes no sense at all.
No.
I mean, I didn't know any different at the time. The first time you see the series, you don't know any better, do you? It's a great episode, and it gripped me, and I wanted to watch it the following week. But it doesn't work as an early episode. I don't think it works too late either, because he's still kind of being beaten at this point, isn't he? In some episodes, he kind of starts to get the upper hand, and I always think those episodes should maybe come later, where he starts to get control of the situation. He thinks he's in control of the situation in this episode, but when you get to the end, he completely isn't in control, is he? He thinks he is. But
he's, some weeks he wins, some weeks they win. But I think the overriding thing, at least so far in this rewatch, because before, I got the Blu-ray set, not the one that I showed, but when I watched the VHS episodes, I'm really going to date myself, in the 80s. With my friend Jeremy, we would watch an episode of The Prisoner, and then we'd watch a movie. So that's how we got through all 17 episodes. And because we were used to SD, 480 or 360p or whatever it was, we didn't know any different, so we liked it just fine. And it was a very compelling yet befuddling and bemusing series. I loved it because I knew that he was fighting with everything that he had to make it look like they were getting over on him, but in the end, he just shook it off and walked away, That was the impression that I got at the time, anyway.
Do you find that you understand it less now with more rewatch? Not understand it less, but do you find that you have more questions?
The more I talk to you, I understand it less.
That's me thinking I was
But the whole idea about the order, the viewing order, and I wanted to also take a look at what I have here, because next week will be Dance of the Dead, number
amazing
8.
Episode. And if you want something
Yes.
not to be able to understand, that's the episode for you. Because
Yeah.
it's the episode which causes the most discussion. It's probably the most surreal episode of the lot. It was nearly not part of the run at all. McGowan hated it. It was edited together to begin with. McGowan hated it. Put it on the shelf. I don't want anything to do with this. This is rubbish. It was only when an editor called John S. Smith basically was looking for more work. He said, can I have a go with this? Oh yeah, do what you like with it. And he re-edited it, and that was then to McGowan's satisfaction. So we almost didn't have it as an
Happens
episode at
all the time, especially with movies. Not so much with TV, but with movies. An editor will save the film, like with Star Wars, the first, the A New Hope. It wasn't called that when it came out, but
No, it wasn't. No. When you say Star
between-
Wars, I know what you.
yeah, between Marcia Lucas, being his screenwriting editor, saying that this will never play, that won't work, after Star Wars became the huge cultural phenomenon and changed movies forever like it did, and after he divorced her, although I think that she also did some work on Return of the Jedi and maybe even Empire, which of course is the best of the original trilogy and the best of all of them. Recently she came out against the sequel trilogy and couldn't believe that they killed Han Solo and that kind of thing. But after that first film, he actually went on vacation and went away from any place where he could hear anything about it because he thought it was going to fail. And he came back 2 weeks later, and the two theaters in LA, the Chinese theater and the one across from it, were both playing Star Wars for a year each. He had the good sense to ask the studio if he could have the marketing rights, for the action figures, trading cards, blankets, sleeping bags, etc., 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 etc. And after that, he never really had anyone that would stand up to him like Marcia did. He was surrounded by yes men, particularly in the prequel trilogy. I think that he needed a stronger hand on him in that process, but he was George fucking Lucas, at that point. Nobody would say no to him. They'd be too afraid of losing their job and being blacklisted at Skywalker Ranch forever. But what was the question you asked me before that?
I don't know. My brain.
About which doctors would be good,
yeah.
number 2. Yeah. You know who would have been a really good number 2? Actually, not a doctor. Roger Delgado.
Oh,
Again,
well, he would have
in
made
his
a great
prime.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. He was always good. But he would have been really, really good. And of course, you know, to answer your point, many of these episodes were rushed in pre-production, in production, in post-production. And as you said, you know, McGowan said, you know, fuck it, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. Give some editor a chance. And, you know, it's the best episode of the series. Who knows? So, yeah,
Well,
I think...
looking forward to talking to you about it. I bet you'll have more questions than you have for any other episode. Many episodes,
I am very much looking
kind of
forward
fairly
to it.
straightforward, isn't it? I mean, there's not much hidden stuff in Many Happy Returns. It's quite straightforward. Whereas Dance of the Dead, less so. It'll be an interesting discussion next week, which
I think so. I'm very much looking forward to making sure that everyone's internet works just fine. And
you love technology.
Tracy told me on the phone the other day that he and his wife, Robin, are going to Jordan in, I think he said December. I think he said December, because the now king of Jordan, is really interested in UFOs, and of course Tracy Tormé is well known as an authority on UFOs. So he's going to either be there as part of a small contingent, or just be there on his own and talk with the king of Jordan.
Wow.
And their wives. And I'm sure they'll have a great time, but they won't be available to be here.
Okay.
So,
I'm hoping to be here most weeks for as long as you'll have me.
Every Wednesday, my friend.
Always good fun. But I can certainly make it next week for Dance of the Dead, and that will, as I say, that'll be a very interesting discussion.
That'll be a lot of fun.
I love Dance of the Dead for so many reasons, so I can wax lyrical about that for hours.
And Stephen Amore mentions 5 Doctors seemed a rushed writing job, whereas 3 Doctors was properly written.
Well,
I would agree with that.
Turner kind of putting it together, did it? So,
but also because it was kind of gimmicky, and they had, you know, they brought back Susan, Carolyn Ford, you know, and Joe, and just everybody. You know, they sandwiched in so many Doctor Who alumni that even if it hadn't been a rushed writing job, it would have been very difficult to find things for all of them to do. And I think that's part of the problem with the 5 Doctors, you know. But yeah, the 3 Doctors was a very well written episode. I'm gonna have to look up who wrote it, but I don't know offhand. D. Bud Martin mentions that Patrick Troughton played many villains. He could have been a number 2. Yes. And Steven says Motaband would have been good. I don't know if you know who that is. I don't.
I think he means Ricardo Montalban.
Oh, Montalban. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Which is a name I said.
And he goes on to say, David Tennant is a very good actor, and he did chew up the scenery as the Doctor. Yes. And there's also, for anybody that doesn't know this, that's a big fan of David Tennant, as I am, if you go back in my channel history and look at my collector's treasures, my early videos of collector's treasures, which I really don't do anymore, but I did show my autographs and stuff, you'll find an episode where I share my David Tennant autograph, which is one of my most precious possessions. Cam says Cardinal Sin dead right. His wife was the only one who would say he was wrong. Afterward, no one had the nerve or the clout to do so. Delgado as number 2 was my first thought when talking hypotheticals. And agrees, yes, Troughton would have been a great number 2. I agree. I think Patrick Troughton would have been a very good number 2. Now, let me turn this question around on you, Rick. You're a Whovian in general, yes?
Yes.
Who that was in Doctor Who was not a doctor, do you think would have made a good number 6?
Oh, that was not a doctor, but was in Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you've got, all the companions. You've got Nicholas Courtney, people like that.
So people that were in more than one episode. I can't just sort of pick someone that was just in one episode. Yeah, okay.
Because people that were in one episode of Doctor Who were probably in one episode of The Prisoner anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a very fair point. Okay, let me just have a quick think. Mm-hmm. Ian Marter, who played Harry Sullivan. Mm-hmm. I think he'd have.
Hello, Harry.
I'd have enjoyed him as number 6. He's probably a bit too kind of wimpy, really, but I'd have enjoyed that. Not many male actors in Doctor Who when you think about all the companions.
You know who occurs to me? I know I asked you the question, but the one that occurs to me is, if I can remember his name, Mark, the redhead.
Yeah, Mark Strickland. Yeah, the one I just mentioned. Yeah, Turlough.
Strickland?
Strickson.
Mark Strickson. Yeah, he would have been really good. Yeah.
Oh, you think? See, I'm not sure he would have been. I think he's a bit too intense. But I mean, I love his era of Doctor Who, so I'm not gonna.
I think he would have made a great number 6.
I don't think he was in more than one episode of Doctor Who, but someone who I think is a great actor and I think would have made a great Doctor Who, and I think he would have made a great number 6 as well. Is an actor called Patterson Joseph. I don't know if you're aware of his work, but he's great. And he's done a few bits of Big Finish in guest starring roles. He reminds me of Idris Elba a little bit, who I like a lot, and I think
me too. I love Idris Elba.
Yeah, so that kind of style of acting I think works for number 6, for playing number 6. And
the guy that Big Finish got for number 6 just nailed it.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job too. Mark Elstob.
Yeah, Elstob. Yeah. He just nailed it. He hit the nail on the head. I mean, he sounds so much like him. I mean, when you hear me say, I am not a number, I'm a free man, I have done some imitations, since I was small. As a matter of fact, when I was 4 years old, my parents used to wake me up when they had company to bring me downstairs and do voices for company because I had watched Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes, and Mel Blanc, of course, was a brilliant genius, and had done all the voices of all the cartoon characters, and so I learned how to do Peter Lorre by listening to Mel Blanc do Peter Lorre. And they would have Peter Lorre as a cartoon character. I had no idea who he was when I was 4 years old, but boy, do I love him now and have ever since. And just stuff like that, I actually got a part in a play because I did Peter Lorre. The director was casting and said, okay, now I need, a good leading man, and I would raise my hand every time that she would, did something, and, she would inevitably choose somebody else. It was sort of like being on the sports team in school, you're the last one picked or whatever, if people don't like you or think that you're not very good, which was always surprising to me because I was the last one picked, and then, I would hit, in baseball, I would hit like a third base run, or something like that. And so that started to change. But I
don't know what Mark
Elstob was talking about that.
I don't know what Mark Elstob's like as a physical actor. The thing is about number 6 and McGowan, they're very physical actors. He's a very physical actor, and it's a very physical
and also very reserved.
Yeah, and I'm not sure all actors could pull that off, because McGowan has a presence in every film he's in. He kind of steals
Yeah.
the scenes. with
What
whoever-
was the episode of The Prisoner that's coming up where he left to do Ice Station Zebra?
Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, and then they
Right,
have
right,
an actor
right.
called Nigel Stock play the part, and it's just, he does a good job, but it's not the same, is it? He's not
Yeah.
Patrick McGowan.
Yeah. Actually, it occurred to me, I don't know how you feel about this, but it occurred to me to do an extra episode after we're done with The Prisoner and do a movie review of Ice Station Zebra. What do you think?
Yeah, go for it. You know, there are people that say that the character in Ice Station Zebra is John Drake,
Yeah.
and this, and that this was one of his, one of his secret agent.
Do you have a copy back there somewhere on all those?
I do. I have it on DVD, so I can easily watch it again. I've seen it so many
Is there a network version of it I can pick up?
Network? No, it's not on Network's radar. It's I think it's an MGM Universal or something.
Yeah.
Release.
I'll just go on Amazon and get a copy. I'm sure it'll be
do you know what? I'm sure
just
it's probably
fine.
it might even be on YouTube or Netflix or something for free. You know, so
Yeah.
you don't have to.
It's one of those things that I'd like to have a physical copy of. And, again, when you look behind you, you're obviously a big fan of physical media. as
Yeah.
am
Oh,
I.
yeah. Definitely. I'm not a massive streaming fan. I mean, as you know, our internet's so terrible. It's very difficult to stream.
Yeah. And actually, I don't mind Netflix and, of course, Amazon Prime. I'm a big fan of the first season of Altered Carbon, the first season of The Witcher. I think the second season of The Witcher will be really good. And The Expanse, of course. You've seen The Expanse, I hope.
I haven't.
Goodness, Rick, you've got to see The Expanse, man. It's great.
My bad there.
It's on Blu-ray. You can get that. Yeah.
A bit like McGowan, I'm sometimes too busy to watch. Watch TV. That's the thing.
But the great thing about The Expanse is, and I didn't know this until this year. That The Expanse, the TV show, is based on like 8 books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that the books are written by 2 guys who go by the name James S.A. Corey.
Okay.
That's the nom de plume of these 2 guys who originally came up with the idea when they were doing fantasy role-playing, and they just turned it into books. And they'd never written anything before, as far as I know. But boy, are they good. And the show is good. And what nobody, I think, knew, certainly I didn't until I think this year, is that the showrunners, the writers of the show, ended up being those 2 guys that wrote the books. Which never happens, But they selected another 2 anonymous sort of names, and they were the guys in charge of the show, and nobody knew. I mean, I'm sure people at Amazon, well, originally at the Sci-Fi Channel, or Syfy as they call it now, I'm sure that production staff knew, especially in the writers' room. But what an interesting and cool thing, and it's so good. It's a very diverse cast, just like it is in the books, but they don't lecture to you about it. They don't go, see how diverse we are, like they do in Doctor Who and Star Trek, Discovery, and all the other spin-offs of Alex Kurtzman and Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, all this new stuff, where there's no story. It's just a lecture, white man bad. I'm sick of this stuff. I want good storytelling. That's why I'm so thrilled at this news that not only is Russell T. Davies coming back, but he wrested creative control away from the BBC. And the article that I saw said that it's going to cost the BBC something like 40 billion pounds a year. Could that be right?
No, never.
Maybe it was million.
It must be a million because
Yeah.
that's more than what their
But I
budget
mean,
is.
they've run the beloved franchise into the ground.
I'm not sure how they can
undermining the entire run of Doctor Who with the timeless children and all this kind of stuff. They just they ruined it. And frankly, I think the only way that the show could be saved is by having Russell T. Davis come back and have his company, Bad Wolf, with Julie Gardner, have creative control completely, and the BBC can't say anything. They can't say boo about it.
Well, time will tell.
I think
that's all we can say.
Very good news.
I think the problem hasn't been. I don't think the problem has been Jodie Whittaker, and I don't think the problem has been casting, and I don't think the problem has been diversity. I think the problem has been the writing. You say you want to see good stories and you want to see good writing, and I think
a large part of the blame can be laid at Chibnall's feet. However, you could see Doctor Who starting to go woke in.
Well, that doesn't bother me. I'm not a fan of people using the word
in Capaldi.
I don't have an issue with that at all. That doesn't bother me because if the story's good, it really doesn't.
I find them unwatchable, and there are no stories. I mean, are you able to watch Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who?
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's unwatchable, but it's poor because it's poorly written. I don't think it's because of the fact that she's.
I can't stand watching Jodie Whittaker. First of all, I can't understand anything she says. Second of all, her mouth is always hanging open. Third, the Doctor always has to do a lot of running, whether it's in ventilation shafts or around, on a hill or whatever, and she runs like a duck. She just can't run. 4, and this is what really ticked me off about Jodie Whittaker. She never saw any Doctor Who and refused to go do her homework before she started and watch any, although she claims to be best friends with David Tennant and vice versa. So I don't know how they could be such great pals because they couldn't be more different as actors. I think the reason that she was cast was part of the diversity mandate with the BBC, and because it was really the only woman of that appropriate age that Chris Chibnall had worked with. He worked with her in Broadchurch.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the Doctor being a woman.
I don't either.
I think you're right that Chibnall was just the wrong man for the job. That's how I see it. Regardless of I think if you put Jodie Whittaker in it with a good David Tennant script, I think she'd give a good performance because I think she's a good actor. I think the problem is
I will say this:
that's appropriate for work.
I didn't mind her first episode. Her debut episode was just fine, but the writing, not just by Chibnall, but the other writers that he brought on, the episode where they are in 1947 India, and it's the day, that it splits into what's the name of the other country? There's a mandate, and India split into India and what's the other country? It's got Islamabad in it.
Oh, Pakistan.
Thank you. Yeah, and so the women had to go into one hut and the men had to go into another hut. I mean, to be honest, the Doctor is a man. The Doctor's always been a man. He should always be a man because of problems like that. You can't go. I mean, the episode where they're on the bus, in Birmingham, Alabama, and it's the doctor's idea that Rosa Parks gets up and sits at the front of the bus. You know, it's just like, come on. These are not stories. These are lectures. You know, it's like they've always told morality plays in Doctor Who. That's one of the things I love about Doctor Who, especially as a screenwriter, that, you know, you get great stories like Ghostlight, you know, and a lot of stuff kind of like Star Trek, where they're telling you a morality tale, but they're doing it with aliens on different planets and things like that. And even, you know, with Doctor Who on Gallifrey.
Do you think that's more to do with the fact that the audience is different to what it used to be? They're making Doctor Who for a different audience to us. They're not making it for us. We're a minority. We're 1% of the viewing audience. So, so they've got to kind of make it a bit more obvious, because
you could probably speak to this because this is a rumor in the United States. This is a rumor in the United States, but you can probably tell me whether it's fact or fiction. I have heard that the diversity mandate that the BBC, I think, was given by the government, by the British government, was that they had to represent the audience on the screen percentage for percentage. And I remember there's a YouTuber named Dave Cullen who lives in Ireland, and he said that on one of his shows, he said that England is 45% white now. So white people are literally a minority.
No,
in England.
That's completely false.
Is it?
Yeah, I can probably look up the figures now. That's
again,
where he's got
not that it's not that it matters to me. The guy that plays the Master in the new Doctor Who is fucking a brilliant actor. He was in An Adventure in Space and Time, and he played Wars Hussein, and he was brilliant. Do you know the actor I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah, I do know that, and he's a great actor. Just to let you know,
he's a brilliant actor. He's got nothing to work with.
Yeah, the ethnic
in Doctor Who.
The ethnic percentage of Britain is 80% white. So I don't know where.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, he was totally just talking out of his ass.
Yeah. Not that it matters. If I was the only white person here, it wouldn't make any difference. It really.
But I mean, they did make a film about a black Anne Boleyn, right?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
I'm pretty sure they did. You know, and you know, everything has to have a lesbian relationship in it now. You know, people have to be at least bisexual.
Yeah,
you know.
That's because life does have lesbian and bisexual relationships in it. You know, you can't.
And there was a rumor that they were going to be shipping the Doctor with what's her name, the female companion that Jodie Whittaker has.
Yeah, I've not seen a lot of Jodie Whittaker, but I know the one you mean.
And that's a good thing, and you shouldn't. It's awful. It's bloody awful, and for whatever reason. But I'm really happy that that Bad Wolf has wrested creative control away from the BBC, because I think it's the only chance the Doctor Who has of approaching its former self, you know, because I was ready to put it on another 15-year hiatus. You know, I'm 53. Yeah, that'd be pretty late days. Time
will tell. I'm quite pleased about it as well, because I enjoyed the Eccleston series and I enjoyed the first two David Tennant years. I felt when Catherine Tate came along, it kind of wasn't quite as good as it was.
Got a little more goofy.
Seasons, but yeah, and not in a great way. I don't think she's a great actress, to tell you the truth. I'm sure she's a fantastic comedian, but I don't think she's the greatest actress in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
But the writing, I think, slipped a little bit as well. I think the overall direction of the series lost a little bit when Russell T Davies left. So I'm looking forward
And
to
Phil Collinson and Julie Gardner. Yeah.
They all went at the same time, exactly. And I don't
Yeah.
think Stephen Moffat, although he's a great writer of individual episodes, I don't think he was the right person to take on the show.
I thought his
was not
I thought his reboot of Sherlock was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great writer
with Mark Gatiss.
He's a great writer. He's a great writer, but being a great writer and running a show are two completely different things.
They're totally different. Yeah. And Ivan Ivanovich says TV4, not BBC, did Black Anne Boleyn. And as to Jodie Whittaker, Cam says she's a plank of wood. Ivan Ivanovich says current Doctor Who has an audience.
Well, it has a target audience, and I can tell you now that most of the people that watch Doctor Who are kids. They're not us. They're not middle-aged. They don't
make it for us. Yeah,
they don't make it for us.
Although
they should make it for us because we're a tiny, tiny audience. Whereas
you
kids
think about
you
Doctor Who when it was on and we were watching, or for me, Doctor Who that was on 5 years earlier, because that's when we got it, was 5 years late. They always had good looking companions for the dads. There was elements for all parts of the family. It started out as a kids show mainly to teach kids about history, but they went right into the future and went right into the Daleks, and
exactly.
Again,
and
as an example,
in 1964, yes, you're right. They did put something on for the dads, but the show was still a kids show. It wasn't for people in their 40s and 50s.
That's true.
To sit and moan about it. And the same's true today. Like I keep saying, I've got 3 kids. They love modern Doctor Who, but if you show them a Doctor Who from the 70s, they go, "What's this rubbish? I don't want to watch this."
I don't know. I think it's for kids of all ages, really. And this is how popular Doctor Who became. You've got, Peter Cushing, for fuck's sake, in Doctor Who and the Daleks, which isn't a bad film. And
I love the Dalek
it spawned a sequel. They were very successful in Britain.
Yeah, they were. I love the Dalek movies. Dalek Mania was all the thing in the 60s.
And
but
they couldn't.
You can't do that again now. We live in a different era now.
Now they put Doctor Who episodes in the cinemas.
Yeah,
I mean, Matt Smith stuff showed here in movie theaters. And my niece and my nephew went and watched them. I mean, I didn't know that they were in the cinema, or I would watch them too. I love Doctor Who. I've always loved Doctor Who, but the reason that I was attracted to Doctor Who when I was first exposed to it was because of the writing, and that was during the Terrence Dicks era, and the 2 guys that introduced the horror element. I forget their names. But they were, I think, a writer and a script editor. And they introduced.
I can't remember the names.
The Tom Baker horror stuff, like the Brain of Morbius and the Talons of Wang Chiang, and all those great old episodes. It's where Behind the Sofa comes from. It scared kids so bad they watched from behind the sofa.
Philip Hinchcliffe is the name you're after.
Philip Hinchcliffe, yes. Yeah.
Well,
and I thought it was really cool.
On that bombshell, I'm afraid I'm going to have to love you and leave you before this becomes not a prisoner podcast, but a
Doctor Who. Yeah.
It's been great talking to you again.
Oh my gosh, we're over 3 hours. Yeah.
So I'm going to join you next time.
And thanks very much for joining.
That's all right. I'm going to join you next time for Dance of the Dead.
Not the same without you. Yes, Dance of the Dead next week. Hopefully, we'll have our co-host, or I'll change all the merch and the name of the show, and we'll just make it Cardinal Sin and Rick Davy.
No. I'm sure it's not the same without Captain Cockney Spock, and I'm sure he'll be joining.
I don't think it is, but I think today he might have given it a miss on purpose. But we'll see. We'll see.
No problem. Well, I will be joining
you
next
week. In any
week.
case,
thank you to all your listeners.
I do hope to see you next week, and I want to thank everyone who's been in our audience. You're a wonderful audience. And for Rick and the Unmutual, it's Cardinal Sin out.